We all remember the heroics of the clone troopers, shiny armor, blasters, and their unwavering loyalty to the Republic. But behind the armor was something else entirely. This is the true story of what it was like to actually be a clone trooper. And spoiler alert, it wasn't about glory, it was about control, pain, and sacrifice. Clone troopers were created, not born. They were grown on Kamino using the bounty hunter Jango Fett's DNA. They were engineered for war and aged at twice the normal speed. Childhood? Gone. Freedom just didn't exist. Their lives were defined by drills, obedience, and service to the Republic. But even though they were all genetically identical, many of them developed their own personalities. They gave themselves names, like Rex, Fives, and Echo. They built identities. They found meaning where they could, even if the Republic still saw them as numbers. This genetic engineering meant their entire existence was for one purpose: war. Unlike natural-born humans, clones had no chance to experience a normal life or explore their own path. Every moment of their early lives was dedicated to rigorous training, drilling, and conditioning. The Kaminoans monitored their progress closely, ensuring that they developed the physical and mental skills required for combat while keeping their emotions tightly controlled. Yet, even in this controlling environment, individuality found a way to the clones. From the wastelands of Geonosis to the nightmare of Umbara, they fought in some of the most horrific battles in Star Wars history. And when one clone fell, he was replaced. Just another CT number to the Republic. They lacked proper medical treatment, mental health support, and rest. But under the surface, the trauma was even more real. Some cracked, some deserted, and some simply just stopped caring. The sheer scale and intensity of the Clone Wars created an environment where exhaustion was just a daily feeling. Clones fought battle after battle without rest, often witnessing the deaths of their brothers and the civilians they were fighting to protect. Despite their training and discipline, the endless violence chipped away at their mental state and their hope. Some clones began to question their role and the war's purpose, leading to desertions or breakdowns. But most kept going, hiding their pain to fulfill their orders and protect the Republic, even when it meant sacrificing their own well-being. Every clone was assigned a Jedi General. Some Jedi treated them like soldiers, others treated them like brothers. Anakin Skywalker trusted Rex with his life. Plo Koon called the clones individuals. Shout out Plo Koon, he's my favorite Jedi. But generals like Pong Krell saw them as nothing more than tools. These bonds, or lack of them, had huge impacts on the soldiers they were fighting with. The relationships between the clones and Jedi generals varied dramatically and deeply influenced the soldiers' experiences. When Order 66 came, that emotional connection made the betrayal all the more sad for the generals who had genuine connections with their clones. Every clone had a dark secret inside them, the inhibitor chip. Implanted without their knowledge, the chip ensured total obedience. When Order 66 was activated, the chips took over, and even the most loyal clones were forced to kill their Jedi generals. Fives discovered the truth too early, and Rex only survived because of Ahsoka. The clones weren't evil. They were just victims of a plan, tools of a larger plan that they never knew they were a part of. The inhibitor chips represent one of the most tragic aspects of the clone story. It was a literal override to their free will and decision-making process. The chips were implanted during their creation. The discovery of this horrifying truth by Fives revealed the clones as pawns in a much larger political game, orchestrated by Palpatine himself and the rest of the Sith. When the war ended, the Empire began phasing the clones out. After years of fighting and dying, they were told they were no longer useful. Stormtroopers replaced them, cheap, untrained conscripts who could be controlled with fear. The clones were left behind, with no identity, no citizenship, and no thanks. They were used, then thrown away like trash. After the fall of the Republic, the clones who had sacrificed so much were abandoned by the new Empire. Despite their proven skill, discipline, and loyalty, they were gradually replaced by others who lacked the clones' training but were easier to manipulate with fear and intimidation. This shift marked a tragic end to the clones' role in the galaxy. Stripped of their identity and denied citizenship, many clones found themselves outcasts in a galaxy they had fought so hard to protect. Their service, sacrifice, and humanity were forgotten as they were discarded like worn-out tools, no longer needed by their creators. As far as the public knew, the clones were the ones who killed the Jedi. The galaxy didn't know about the chips. All they saw were armored soldiers firing on their generals. The heroes of the Republic were rebranded as villains, and the Empire let that lie spread. Most clones didn't just retire, they disappeared. No medals, no honors, just silence. The lies spread by the Empire deemed the clones' reputation as traitors rather than heroes. This lie erased the sacrifices and loyalty of thousands of clones, painting them as villains in the New Order. Rather than receiving gratitude or recognition, many clones vanished quietly, slipping into obscurity and loneliness. And yet, despite all of it, despite being engineered, controlled, and discarded, the clones still found ways to be human. They laughed, they made jokes, and they named each other. And in moments that mattered, they chose. Rex chose to fight the chip, Fives chose to seek the truth, and Dogma chose to execute Krail. Their free will wasn't given, they earned it. And that made them more than soldiers. That's what made them real people. Despite the overwhelming forces that sought to control and erase their individuality, clones continuously showed that they were human after all. These acts of courage and self-awareness made them beyond soldiers. They became complex individuals with heart, mind, and spirit. Not all clones vanished into the shadows. Some like Rex, Gregor, and Wolf survived and continued to fight, this time against the Empire. The Bad Batch, Clone Force 99, escaped the programming entirely and tried to find their own path in a broken galaxy. The clones have become some of the most beloved characters in all of Star Wars, not just for their bravery, but for their heart. They weren't Jedi, they weren't Sith. They were ordinary men who stood together in very, very strange times. These stories remind us that clones weren't just weapons or numbers to be written down in a book, but they were individuals capable of growth, change, and heroics. Being a clone trooper wasn't just about fighting on the battlefield. It was a life of constant training and drills. Even between missions, they drilled for hours, sharpening skills and pushing their bodies beyond limits. There was no real downtime, no space to breathe. Their entire existence was built around becoming perfect soldiers, and that pressure never stopped. It was exhausting, both physically and mentally, but they had no choice but to keep going. Most clone stories focus on the few heroes we know, Rex, Fives, and Echo, but thousands of others had their own battles, losses, and acts of bravery that went unseen. Every clone had a story filled with struggle and sacrifice, stories lost in the chaos of war. Remembering them means honoring not just legends, but every single clone trooper who stood in the line of fire, because behind every armor number was a man who gave everything. So what was it like to really be a clone trooper? It was pain, it was humanity, it was sacrifice, and it was bonds. These were brothers, and even if the galaxy forgot them, we won't. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you if you watched it this far. Thank you guys so much. Yeah, join my Discord if you love talking about anything Star Wars. Link will be in the description. But without any further ado, as always, may the Force be with you. Goodbye.